All right.
Oh, look at that.
Great.
Got it. Hey.
Hi. Okay, Emily. So let's go ahead and get started. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So my name is Emily Catherine Hanger, and I am an acupuncturist and a holistic pelvic care practitioner. I have an undergraduate degree in dance and choreography, which has really informed my whole trajectory, if you will. I also practice, which is a newer thing, Taoist stone medicine, which is actually a part of the Chinese medicine materia medica, but it has been left out as Chinese medicine has been westernized because the stones really work on a soul level. So you can imagine a lot of people don't necessarily want to go deep, but that's what I love. And so a big part of what has really come into play for me using the stones is that I'm actually working in a way that is a real different kind of fringe way of practicing that most of my training in Chinese medicine school, it set the foundation, but I think I had to, be in practice to really learn what my way was. And I use this really lightly, but because I'm not, trained, but if I had to describe it, I would say it's more of a shamanistic way of practicing.
I love
Because,
that.
no, thank you. I use the stones and I use my voice. And I don't speak words, but it's just tones and sounds. I also have been able to really connect with ancestors, loved ones that have passed away, and spirit babies, and all kinds of like beings that it's like you hear about them in fairy tales, and until you like actually come into contact with them, in this experience, you're like, oh, this is real. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I do, I think.
Great. Thank you so much for that overview. I was reading through your bio earlier, and I think it's really interesting that you led your introduction of yourself with talking about how dance and choreography has informed your trajectory.
Mhm.
That's something that I definitely picked up on in your bio as well. That you have this like BFA, right, in dance and
Yeah.
choreography, and then it looks like you went into like Pilates and yoga, and then from there went into this holistic care and classical Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very neat. And in some of the types of, menstrual cycle awareness and like menarche recovery and the cyclical awareness recovery exercises include dance and movement. Uh,
Yeah.
and I myself have found it very powerful, incorporating, meditative movement, if you will, into certain parts of cycle work.
Totally.
So that's really exciting to find that. I actually have a specific question about your background and about how, because you have is it a master's of science in Oriental medicine? Is that
Right.
correct? Yeah.
Yes.
How in Oriental medicine or classical Chinese medicine, how is the cycle viewed? How is this approached?
That's such a good question. I mean, it's a big part of Chinese medicine. Um, treating and really keeping, like the womb really like warm and healthy and happy and content. There are a
Mhm.
lot of specific treatments. A lot of times it ends up falling into like fertility treatments, these
Yeah,
days.
yeah,
But I mean, especially in the classical Chinese medicine, there is this idea that we are, as humans, you know, to stand in between heaven and earth.
mhm,
So our heads in the cloud and our feet on the earth. So we're really connected to the rhythms, of the earth and the stars. Therefore, we should be this reflection of the breath of nature.
I love
Um,
that.
Yes. And so this is one thing I do love about Chinese medicine, and that I feel like it really informs the holistic pelvic care and just, cycle awareness, is that it really does honor, women's health and women and rhythm. And then it does encourage women throughout different phases of their cycles to, eat in a different way and rest when you're bleeding like that. So
yeah. So to show it recognizes this that we're cyclical beings, basically.
Because a big way, like the 5 elements, it's also really based on seasons. And so, when you go through like a season a month, and so it really layers well, I think, with Chinese medicine. So
that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, sure. And also I did want to mention about your focus on movement and dance, which I'm a little bit stuck on. That's what initially drew me to you, your beautiful Instagram videos where you're dancing, you're using movement.
Yes.
Those are very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like, embodiment practices, and I would include, cycle awareness in this, is just huge and paramount to our health and wellness and wholeness. So.
Yeah. And something that struck me, and I'm sure as we go on, we're going to get more flavors of the certified holistic pelvic care provider, the service that you offer and understand it. It would seem to me that it's like using pelvic care, because it's holistic pelvic care, right? So this concept of the womb or pelvic care, I think the pelvic bowl is what your website is referring to it as, at the center for our overall well-being, which is very much how I feel about menstrual cycle awareness. Absolutely. It's that thing that it's really the key that can unlock the ultimate form of self-care for us as women. This recognition and honoring and understanding of ourselves on every level, and how we are cyclical beings. And for so many years of our lives, from menarche to menopause and then beyond, we can recognize a cyclical nature as well, in alignment with the moon. Yet unfortunately, we're a lot of times in our Western society made to believe that is an inconsistency somehow, or that there's something wrong with us for being different and for being cyclical.
Right. Yeah.
So my next question is, what cycle day are you on today?
Yes. So I'm on day 18. So I'm in the first week of my luteal phase. And I figured that maybe I would sort of hear your, because you also had a question about what's your favorite, phase of cycle. So I actually feel like this space right here for me, that first week of the, luteal phase for me is my favorite. Because I still have the energy of ovulation. But it's like before, sort of PMS time, which I do love too. And I like to call it truth serum time.
I love that. Truth serum time. I'm gonna put that in the show notes.
Like all the things you've been able to just, let go of or avoid or whatever, like they are so right on the surface, in PMS, which is great and so important. But it also comes with, the doubt and insecurities and So this is why I really love the luteal phase. And I'm in this great, place right now because I'm on day 18. So it's just kind of a special time because I still have really good energy, but I'm not PMSing, and so it's sort of perfect spot.
Absolutely beautiful. I believe I am on day 18 as well, which is I know, kind of crazy to sync up like that. without even planning. So what great energy.
Is that I've noticed that a lot of women who are really, who I've connected with online, as far as like menstrual awareness, we bleed and we are ovulating right around the same.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
I,
I'm gonna have to look into that more. That's a beautiful
I,
surprise. And that, yeah, that day 18 for me, I was actually writing about it this morning, and it's inner summer, so menstrual cycle awareness, we call that the inner summer phase. And yeah, for me, and not everyone is as comfortable in this season, but like you, I really love this season. I tend to thrive in it. Of course, when I respect myself in the previous seasons, when I respect my crossover days and those changing, that traveling and the changing me from one season to another as well, I find that that's really important for me, increasingly more and more so as I move from one season to a next, taking time to just kind of stop and reflect and look forward as well, and just not give myself that space to transition and to change for the next season.
right.
Which I did this cycle. And yeah, inner summer has been really beautiful. It can be very spontaneous and creative, and like I can get stuff done without a lot of planning, and there's a lot that can happen.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100%.
Well, one of the things that I am always curious about when I'm interviewing or speaking to another woman is the Menarche story. And so I'm wondering if you are comfortable enough to share your Menarche story with us.
Sure. And I love this question because this is the one that I thought about a lot, actually. Because I feel like in my life, it's sort of telling, because I have a lot of these sort of oppositional poles. Like in my, my astrological chart, I actually have a lot of these like, grand crosses. So like you can be really pulled strongly in one direction, and then you have this absolute like opposite pull, so sometimes it's hard to come into the middle. And so I feel like my story is twofold. So, my parents were both Western medicine practitioners. And so there's a lot, like sciencey, like this is what happens. Let's diagnose this. Let's check it out, blah, blah, blah. So, when I started my period, I definitely had this experience of like literally having this like gynecological exam like from my mom.
Oh man.
And it's like, okay, I mean, I'm comfortable enough with my body, but like at the same time, you're like, I'm 13, And so like what 13-year-old girl really wants their vagina like inspected,
Right. Yeah.
And other than themselves, maybe. So, that was a little bit embarrassing, but not like traumatizing by any means, and then sort of the other side of that is that, my mom wrote like this really sweet note and like welcomed me, into like basically like the sisterhood of, being a woman, and so that was really meaningful, and that was really special. So
and how can you give us more details about that? What was that like? The welcoming
to receive like that note. Yeah, it was really important to me, because I think, especially as a woman, but even just as a young person, and I think this is true whether you're a child, teenager, adult, whatever, you always want to be seen and heard and honored, for who you are and what you're going through. And it is such a big rite of passage. And so to really have that acknowledged was really important, and to have, really kind words and almost this like really welcoming kind of energy of like, you're included, and that this isn't a bad thing. thankfully my mom always had like a good relationship with her menses. So it really did feel like this, like a welcoming and a inclusion that was really important for me.
Yeah, that's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I've one of the things that I like to focus on with Menarche in particular, and with working with mothers that are like preparing for when their daughters are going to hit Menarche, are
Yes.
those first words, right? The reaction, because
Sure.
it could be the story that your kid has been carrying around for a long time,
Totally.
which just might be like an offhand comment or whatever.
Totally.
So like that intentionality around the first things that your daughter's going to hear about it from you. Obviously, Menarche is going to hit when it hits and where they are, and we can't control
Sure.
all of these things.
Yeah.
But that first reaction to it. So that's really beautiful that you had kind words and a real, like, it sounds like an intentional welcoming to the club there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and is there anything that you learned then through Menarche, or any of the, I don't know, the lessons, like how you were then? Um, is there anything like that that you are still working on or still carrying with you from that kind of precious initiation in your journey?
Yeah, this was the other question that I really loved that you asked. And I think the only thing is that I really wish that there had been a little bit more of like a kind of ritual around it, or, like some kind of little like ceremony or something. I think that's what I'm striving towards. And I hope, for my own daughter, if she's open to it, that it would be more of even like a gathering of women,
Yeah,
with, and it doesn't have to be super elaborate. It can kind of be whatever she wants it to be. But yeah, I wish, and one thing that I feel like is really important, and that I feel like I'm really working on, but it really ties into the Menarche story for me too, is that I think women need to be witnessed in their healing, and they need to be witnessed truly, authentically as themselves. And so what a beautiful way to welcome, a girl into, womanhood, by really like honoring and seeing her and taking care of her, and, by
absolutely.
loves and trusts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I love your terminology that you use there of the need to be witnessed. I think
yeah,
that is so valid. This need to
yeah,
be witnessed, and that especially with Menarche,
yeah,
because it's kind of something we're all taught to kind of hide, and I
oh,
think it's gotten better, honestly. I think from what I see from my daughters, I have two 11-year-olds, and their generation, like they're not ashamed of talking about these things. I don't know if
yeah,
that's I don't know if it's a yet, right? Or if, and that'll come,
right.
or if it's just like things have changed a bit from my own generation, where it was like conceal at all costs.
Yes, like do not talk about, conceal, like
Yeah.
all of
Show up the
it.
same. I was discussing with a
Yeah,
friend this the other day, and it was a male friend. He was really trying to wrap his head around this menstrual cycle awareness and cyclical living, and he brought up the feminist notion, or this argument that a lot of us grew up with. It's like, I'm a woman, I can do anything a man can, and I can do it bleeding. Right. And so then if you remember the conversations and the debates around, well, can a woman be in war? Can a woman fire a gun when she's on her period? Can a woman be president? Was she going to set off a nuclear bomb when she's PMSing? Like these terrible
right,
messages about
right.
women. But the reaction or the response to that for so many years in my life is, well, I can do anything a man can do, I can do it the same, no matter what day I'm on. But even that kind of an argument is really not honoring our
Uh,
cyclical nature. So,
yeah. Honestly, like, I don't want to do it like a man,
I
like
know, right? That's
I am
exactly what I came to.
a woman, so I will, yeah, I'm gonna do it in a different way.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't want my finger on the nuclear bomb switch
No,
at all. Like, I don't ever want to use it, no matter what
no,
cycle day I'm on.
no, not good.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh
Yeah,
gosh. Okay. Well, we kind of already talked about the cycle, the part of your cycle that you feel most at home, and so that's definitely inner summer for you. Is that right?
yeah, I would say so. Yes.
Okay. And then one question I am very interested to know, you are, an entrepreneur, a practitioner, you're building your business, you're on social media, you do all the things, plus you're a mother, a shaman, a partner to someone. So you have all these things going on. I'm wondering how your cycle affects the way you run your business.
Yes. It does. I was even thinking about, when we decided to do the podcast, I really made sure that it was not going to be, anytime when I could
Beautiful.
potentially be bleeding. I do tend to see less patients when, I'm on my heavy days. Although, I was thinking about this too, that a lot of times if I do see the same amount of patients, a lot of times I'll just sit down more, or,
Hmm.
or that I have like hot tea, or, I cover myself up and keep my womb like warmer, regardless of what season it is. I mean, I think that there are ways that you can really care for yourself and like honor what's happening in your body. Um, even if you still have to work, like it for me, just because of the nature of what I do too, because I can really, kind of decide when I work and how I work, or even like what I wear, to work, that I can really honor whatever cycle that I'm in, regardless of, how many people that I'm seeing. I will say that, and I'm much more vocal about where I am in my cycle, even with, my patients, so I might
Hmm.
even say, I'm just moving a little bit more slowly today because I'm, on the, first day of my menses, and, people are totally fine with that. So,
Yeah, I love that. That's
yeah.
great. That making of the space, even with your patients.
Oh yeah. And like formalizing it too,
Yeah.
like giving myself the space to talk about it and be honest. And it opens, it opens things up for other folks, also. Cause I see like 90% women.
Hmm.
So
Okay, great. And so finally, what does living in alignment with your cycle really mean to you?
yeah, I love this question too. I really do think that living in alignment with my cycle means, using, maybe not using, but like following the natural energy that is happening for myself during my cycle, and like actually moving with it rather than like resisting it. Do you know what I
Love it.
mean? If I'm, if I know that I'm ovulating, like I will, I'll go for like longer runs, or I'll exercise more, or if I know that, I'm, in that PMS phase, I'll be so much more kind and tender to myself. And so it creates this container for, myself to not feel like I'm fighting life,
Hmm.
that I'm
Yeah.
actually,
Or fighting yourself for your own nature.
yeah, like I am actually more in this flow with everything else in my life if I can, really honor where I am in my cycle. I don't have to like resist and like use my energy is like not used up on this resistance. My energy is actually going towards the things that it is naturally supposed to be. And like, that's a
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, that's a great way to put that. I really like that about resistance and where the energy goes. And and at 28ish, we're really dedicated, and one of my like personal missions is to help as many women as I can to uncover their superpowers,
Yes.
and those superpowers in every part of their cycle.
Yeah.
So the thing is, yeah, you can't be resisting your cycle or trying to force yourself to be a way that
Oh,
you're not naturally that day.
no.
um so you're not going to find your superpowers like that, that's for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, great. Well, for anyone listening, Emily, can you tell us where to find you, how people can work with you if they're interested, that kind of thing?
Sure, absolutely. So you can go to my website. It's emilyhanger.com. You can also find it through Emily Hedberg, which is my maiden name, both of which you can find on my website. Also, I'm on social media. So on Instagram, I am Stone Spirit Medicine. And, I post a lot there and share a lot of information there. I'm also, and I don't know how I totally feel about this, I'm on TikTok too.
Nice.
Sometimes like I'm too old to be on TikTok. I don't know. I have a friend who's like a marketing guru, and she encouraged me to, just to have as much of an audience as possible. So it pushes
Definitely.
done sometimes, but so I'm Woven Wild on TikTok if you're on that app. Yeah, so those are the spots that you can find me. I do, one-on-one sessions, but I also do distance sessions. So don't have to be, close by in order to receive a session if you're
Great.
interested.
Great. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
don't think we mentioned though, but if someone is close by, that's where you're
So
in
I'm
Virginia.
I'm in Virginia. Yeah. Yeah. So
All
yeah.
right. Great. Well, I will add all of your information and all the links for you, Emily, to the show notes so
Great.
that anyone can find you there. I want to thank you so much for being a part of this podcast.
Yeah. Thank
And yeah, I really appreciate it. I loved our conversation today.
you. Awesome. Thanks, Carrie. I did too.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay.